Big learning lesson Tuesday night in Raleigh. The Heels weren't tough enough, according to Hubert Davis. Can they get that turned around, or is it too late?
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch to get your Wednesday going the right way. Special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Here's where we're going on the show today. Obviously, Carolina got trucked last night at the Lenovo Center, 82-58. It's historic and all this, right? Like, just, it is what it is. Post-game, Coach Davis said that Carolina wasn't tough enough. They weren't ready. So my question, can Carolina get there, or is it too far gone? We'll get to our Four Corners recap of this game, including trying to figure out why Carolina is so insistent on taking so many threes when they're so much better shooting from two. That and the rest of the Four Corners preview. We'll have our shady stat of the game. And I had a couple questions from people asking me my thoughts on NC State walking around with their bedazzled belt. So we'll get to all of that, but let's start with just trying to figure out this. There have been a couple crossroad moments in the course of this season, and I feel like the Tar Heels are at another one. It's time to figure out what they are made of. After Saturday's win over Pitt, it really felt like, obviously you were without Caleb Wilson in that game. You were without Henri Veesaar in that game, but you saw a foundation that you could build off of if you're the Tar Heels. The biggest concern is, can Jarin, Stevenson, and Zayden step in and step up and be productive? The answer to that seemed to be yes. And so you felt like going into NC State on Tuesday night, it was always going to be a tough ask, a big hill to climb without Veesaar and Wilson. There's just no denying that. That's reality. But the problem is, even with that foundation built on Saturday, on Tuesday night, Carolina, as Coach Davis said in his postgame comments, quote, "We weren't tough enough. We weren't good enough," end quote. And so what I need to know is, can the Tar Heels figure out a way to do that? Or with 5 games left in the regular season, plus whatever postseason endeavors they're going to get into, is it just too far gone? Because the coach having to say we weren't tough enough with 5 games left in the season as we sit here past Valentine's Day, that's not an encouraging sign to me. Part of that is, I feel like Caleb Wilson is the heart and soul of that toughness, but you've got other guys that can do it, Seth being a senior leader, all sorts of stuff like that. No, I felt like there were guys that were tough enough. I felt like Jarin, Stevenson, aggressive, right? Zayden, aggressive. It's just in totality, Carolina wasn't there, wasn't tough enough, wasn't good enough. And against a team like NC State, you saw it. Will Wade's identity is this whole, we're just going to claw and scratch and hope, it's like the legend of Boom when Seattle was basically committing defensive pass interference on every play with the philosophy of, you're not going to call it every play. It's the same kind of thing with NC State. I mean, good grief. And then they get all apoplectic when a foul's called on them. It's like, bro, what are we talking about? You see that? But handsy or not, like it or not, if you're Carolina, you can't rely on the refs to bail you out in those moments. You got to be ready to be tough and strong and go to it. So I am, at least at some level, appreciative of the spanking that NC State delivered to Carolina, because it was a reminder of, this is how physically you have to play. This is how tough you got to be. This is how locked in you got to be to get it done. And again, I think the front court held up that end of the bargain. It was the back court that didn't. And so 5 games left in the regular season. Who do you want to be? Because I think there's this tendency for the guys to just sit around and wait and hope and wait for Caleb to get back and Henri to get back. Well, you might have Caleb, but you might not. You might have Henri Veesaar, but you might not. You just don't know if those guys are going to be available. And when and at what level or percentage of themselves are going to be available. So you're not just a placeholder if you're Jarin Stevenson. You're not just a placeholder if you're Zayden High. And if you're any of these backcourt players, Luka Bogavac has been back in the starting lineup because of this, right? Because Jarin Stevenson had been starting at the 3. He shifts over to now start at the 4. And so Bogey's inserted. And it's like, what are you going to do to step up? And I feel like if I'm the coach in this scenario, I look at each one of my guys in the face and I say, what are you going to do to be tougher and better and more ready to go and carry the mantle? Who's going to carry the mantle for the Carolina guards? Because it feels like it's not happening right now. More often than not, the last couple games, the guards have not done it. I mean, this has not been there. And something has to get better. And I thought that, like, again, I don't love NC State style of play. I don't like how they do it. I don't approve of it. I wouldn't coach it that way. But they directly challenge Carolina's competitiveness. They directly challenge Carolina's, like, are you man enough? And again, yeah, I think it was cheap. I think it was unsportsmanlike, but whatever. How do you respond? Because there's going to be games like that. I don't want to stoop to that level, but I want to be tough and disciplined and make the other team rise to the occasion. I love how Joseph Alexander put this in a post game and on our YouTube. He said, it's one thing to play with the chip on your shoulder. It's another thing to be classless. I want to be the chip on your shoulder, guys. That's what Caleb Wilson is. That ain't Quadir Copeland. That dude, no, that ain't what it's at. So you look at this remaining schedule of the regular season. You've got at Syracuse on Saturday, 3 straight home games, hosting Louisville next Monday for Big Monday. Then you host Virginia Tech, host Clemson, and then you go to Duke. That's a tough closing stretch. But Carolina, the point is, as we talk about, are you tough enough? Are you competitive enough? Are you locked in enough? Is you can't sit around waiting for somebody else to go win those games. If I'm the dude in the locker room, I got to step up and say, I'm going to lead the charge and we're going to go 4-1 in that stretch. I'm going to lead the charge and we're going to go undefeated in that stretch, or 3-2, whatever it is. But Carolina has no room for error. The tougher games, obviously, hosting Louisville, hosting Clemson, at Duke. So you got to go win at Syracuse Saturday. And for the staff and the players, that's all you're looking at right now, one game at a time. That's what we're talking about. How do we attack that game? Because we missed our opportunity on Tuesday night against Virginia Tech. Can you be tough enough to win the majority of those basketball games? We'll see. Also, one last word on this game. I think there was maybe a lot of frustration about Henri Veesaar not playing. It seemed like there was speculation that maybe he was trending toward playing. But I said it and I'll say it again. Yes, we all desperately want and wanted to beat NC State. But it is not worth risking Henry's health at the expense of that one battle. I'm looking bigger. I'm looking at the forest. I'm looking at the war. And I would rather not rush Henri or risk Henri re-injuring something to wait a little bit longer to come back so that you got him for the whole postseason and the whole stretch closing run of the regular season. That's where I'm at with it. So Carolina, I thought very wisely chose the war over the battle, and I'm in favor of that. But that said, hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. There are no gimmies left down the stretch of this season. So anytime you can get Henri back, anytime you can get Caleb back, Carolina's going to be in a much better place. Now, we got to get to our Four Corners recap of this game, including Carolina just taking so many three-pointers yet again, plus some other issues coming up in the Four Corners recap. We will have one positive thing to talk about in the Four Corners recap. We'll get there in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, have you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into a reality with their new NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. You use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right. Flights, tickets, the whole enchilada. It's crazy cool. If you're already looking at the board and you're thinking about which team can make a deep run, who's going to win a conference championship, whatever it is, man, it's the perfect time to lock in. And I love also that it's not just about, man, maybe I can get some finals tickets, but it's going to add an extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch of the regular season. And now this means that not only can you make your pick and it can cash, but you could also be the beneficiary of getting an NBA Finals experience for two. That's really, really neat. Looking ahead at some Olympics odds, we've got on Thursday the women's gold medal match. Carolina taking on, of course, Canada, with America favored by 1.5. Would love to see the ladies bring that home. They are on fire right now. Shutouts in every single game. So check it out. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. This episode is also brought to you by our good friends at Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox overflowing, and the one position you still need to fill is sitting wide open, but you don't have the time to take care of it because of everything else you got going on. Well, when the pressure's on and you need the right hire, that's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs, who helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping, fingers crossed, that the right candidate is going to randomly stumble across your job post. No. Here's a stat that says it all. In the minute that I'm talking to you, companies just like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to their worldwide data. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, that's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And plus, listeners to Locked on Tar Heels are going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked on Tar Heels. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Thanks for making Locked on Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day. And thank you for making Locked on the #1 sports podcast network out there. It's all because of all of you. Thank you. And if you're a diehard Tar Heels fan, the Everyday or All Access tier is built for you. You get one-on-one text access with me, all access episodes, and a whole bunch of other perks as well. Check it out. That link is in the show notes. Let's get to the four corners recap of this game. Number one. Broken record version of Isaac right here. You ready? Why are the Tar Heels taking so many three-point attempts? I understand. I'm really good at math. I understand that 3 points are more than 2 points. I get how it works and effective field goal percentage and all that. But the North Carolina Tar Heels on the season are shooting 33.5% from beyond the arc. That's 199th in the country. It's not good enough. On the other side of things, Carolina from 2-point range is shooting 57% and 40th in the nation. And so, yes, even though 2 points are fewer than 3, that's how 3-point shooting works, Carolina is so much more efficient from 2. In this game, they take 60 total shots. 33 of them, more than half, are from beyond the arc. That means they only took 27 twos. And you know how many of those 33 shots they hit? 5. And more often than not, it's that type of thing. It's not that bad. It's not that egregious to shoot 5 of 33, but it ain't good. And so with Carolina's ability to make twos at an efficient level, they can more than overbalance that. Because in a game that they went 5 of 33 from 3, that's 15 points. They were 14 of 27 from 2. That's 28 points, taking 6 fewer shots. I just Do not get it. Carolina, where is your bread buttered, North Carolina Tar Heels? I'll wait. Oh, that's right, the front court. And yes, I know Caleb and Henry are out right now, but still, you were led by your backup front court guys because they can do it. Why do you insist on just settling from beyond the arc and not getting it to him? I cannot for the life of me fathom why Carolina won't work harder to get more shots where they're consistently successful, and that's twos. And I'm not saying abandon threes. I'm just saying you shouldn't be taking 33. And I know game script dictated some of that in this game, but you shouldn't be taking 25. It's still too many. It makes no sense. Number 2 in the Four Corners recap, turnovers and points off of them. In our preview for this game, we discussed that both North Carolina and NC State are elite at not turning the ball over, 12th and 13th in the nation in turnover percentage coming into the game, like the good version of that. So one of the things that we postulated about is, okay, so whoever can do better at turnovers, and more importantly, turning those turnovers into points, is probably going to win this game. Well, here you go. NC State commits 4 turnovers in this game. North Carolina commits 12. 12 turnovers to NC State's 4. Great. Love that. Appreciate it. I'm so glad that's happening. But even more importantly, because it's not a turnover for turnover's sake, you want to get the turnover so you can have more possessions and get more shots and score more points. To that point, points off of turnovers, NC State had 16, Carolina had 3. And I know the final tally was by 24, but a lot of this game, NC State was up 13 to 16 points. You just made up for most of it right there with evening out points off turnovers. Part of that as well is, you know what we've talked about, Carolina isn't a team that forces a lot of turnovers. Well, they had exactly this many 0 steals in this game. 0 steals, takeaways, whatever you want to call it. State, on the other hand, had 7. 7 of them. That's tough. It's tough. Four Corners recap point number 3, points per possession. Points per possession is a metric where basically, for your knowledge, you want to be offensively, you want to be above 1.0, and defensively, you want to hold the other team under 1.0 is the simplest way to put that. North Carolina has been great offensively this season, especially staying up above 1.0 and higher. Carolina's played 26 games now. Through the first 23 games, they had been held under 1 point per possession once. That was Michigan State. In the past 3 games, North Carolina has been held under 1 point per possession offensively. And you see it, like the eye test told you in this game that Carolina, just the offense was not there. Similar story, Miami, the other game where they were under 1 point per possession. The offense just looked disjointed, and it is what it is. One of the other stats I kind of keep is how many points Carolina scores each quarter. So I know in men's college basketball, but I go back and look how many points did Carolina score in quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4 of every game. So basically just from 20 down to 10 minutes, from 9:59, or I guess it'd be 20 to 10:01, and then 10 down to 0. Whatever, same kind of thing. In the second quarter of the NC State game, Carolina had just 10 points. 10 points in the final 10 minutes of the second quarter. I don't have to tell you, that's bad. That's not good. That's not enough. That's not going to win you basketball games. The Tar Heels have to score more points. That's tied for the fewest points they scored in any quarter all season long. And there's a whole bunch of numbers about, lowest field goal percentage of the season. Carolina made 19 field goals. That is the fewest they've made all season long. The first time they've been under 20. The offense just wasn't there. And it needs to get back to being there. There's a lot of moving parts of what that is and why that is and how it happens, but there you go. Number 4 in the Four Corners recap. I got to say something positive here, so let's do it. Jarin Stevenson and Zayden have been forced into starting roles in different ways than they're used to, or than they have at Carolina. And obviously, they're not Caleb Wilson. They're not Henri Veesaar. Nobody's pretending they are. But what they have done is shown very well for themselves and made me feel better about Carolina's depth. If Zayden can continue to do what he's doing when he eventually goes back to the bench, awesome. And in the 2 games that these guys have started as the front court, Zayden is averaging 14 points and 8.5 rebounds. Jarin Stevenson is averaging 16 points and 6 rebounds. I mean, these guys are doing it. Not to mention, Jarin Stevenson has been so aggressive. It's the best version of him. He's gone to the free throw line 9 times in the 2 games that he started, and he's made all 9 of the free throws. That's incredible. Keep attacking Jarin Stevenson. That's the best version of you, Zayden. At energy. I want to see the best version of that as well. Well, we got to get to our shady stat of the game. Carolina's injury issues are happening at a historic level. I'll explain what I mean. Shady stat of the game, and we'll get to that. And maybe talk a little bit about some bedazzled belts coming up in just a second.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. It was a heavyweight showdown between number 3 South Carolina and number 7 LSU, and the Gamecocks rose to the occasion. South Carolina secured a hard-fought 79-72 victory to stay atop the SEC standings, using a balanced offensive attack to outlast the Tigers. Tessa Johnson led the way with 21 points, while Raven Johnson added 19. Medina Okot dominated the paint with a double-double, finishing with 12 points and 17 rebounds, while Joyce Edwards chipped in 10 points to round out the scoring. With the statement win, the Gamecocks now turn their attention to a road matchup at number 23 Alabama on Thursday. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
It's time for the shady stat of the game, and oh my, this is crazy town. You might have heard this stat by now because it circulated a little bit on Tuesday night. But Tyler Zeller and I were texting before the game, and he sent me this stat directly from Steve Kirshner, Carolina's basketball SID sports information director. And I like the way he laid it out was, it was all the information. It was a lot of it. I wanted to distill it down for you into what you need to know. And here's the question: just how historic are Carolina's injury situations right now with Wilson and Veesaar? Maybe another way to say it is, how rare is it for you to be down your 2 leading scorers? Here you go. In the history of the ACC, which is 72 seasons of basketball, oh, by the way, the Tar Heels have now played 3 basketball games without each of their 2 leading scorers. Those games, last night, Tuesday at State, last Saturday hosting Pitt, and a 1978 loss at NC State. And the 2 guys that were missing, Phil Ford and Mike O'Korn. That's it. That isn't that crazy? Like I would think it would happen more regularly than that, but no. The only times that Carolina has been without the 2 guys. Now, caveat, we haven't finished this season, so technically Veesaar and Wilson haven't finished in as the top 2 yet, but that's going to happen, right? Like it's inevitable at this point. So how crazy that you're missing your top 2 guys, but it's almost never happened. This is just the second last Saturday and third last night times Carolina has ever done this. I am befuddled by that. But it just shows you, like, yes, I am saying no excuses. You got to go out and ball, and you got to win. You got to be tough enough. You got to be good enough, as Coach Davis talked about. While at the same time, I can totally recognize what the Tar Heels are going through right now is a historically frustrating thing. That hasn't happened other than last night and Saturday since 1978, man. That's bad luck with the injury bug. So there you go. There's the shady stat of the game. One other thing I wanted to talk about, a couple people, I've got a question here where somebody just basically was like, curious what, Isaac, I'm curious what you think about State's players bringing a belt and wearing it around their necks in the post-game presser. I get doing that if you're playing against UNC. I do, but at least have some presence of mind to realize, like how hollow that is when you beat the Heels without their two best players, basically. Yeah, so let's remember about this NC State team. They just lost to Louisville by approximately 8,000 points. Like, it is comical, the thought of them doing all these things, and it's like, yes, Caleb Wilson did say some things preseason about, like beating the other schools, and I hate Duke and I hate State. But I think we're all on the same page here that State has been the one that's like, what are you guys talking about? From Darion Williams talking about everything he did preseason, Will Wade doing it, Quadir Copeland. I mean, it's just like, no. State is clearly the ones that are talking all the mess. And Caleb's just out here having fun. And so my reaction to them bringing the belt is, good, we're in your head. I think the appropriate phrase here is rent-free, right? Like that's what we're talking about. So I got no problems with them doing it. I think it's fun. I think that brings some, neat stuff and isn't as sanitized. Like, it's fun and it's energetic. So have fun with it. But like the walk-on kid who thought he was something coming out, and come on, what are we doing? So it's frustrating to lose to NC State anytime, regardless of scenario, regardless of circumstances. But Carolina has lost again to NC State, the worst loss they've had to the Wolfpack in a long time. So what do you got to do? This is one of those moments where you kind of just scrap it and move on. How does Dean Smith say you handle a mistake? You admit it, you recognize it, admit it, learn from it, and move on. And that's what Carolina needs to do. They got to recognize what the issues were. They admit what they were. They learn from them, and then they move on. Syracuse coming up on Saturday. Do I remember correctly? That was the game Carolina was up like 30 points and then let Syracuse get it back to the final margin of 10. So Carolina owes some payback there, if we're being honest, and I'd love to see it. All right, you guys, that's it for today's show. Great to be together. If you haven't subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels on video and audio, do it now so you don't miss a second of the show. If you haven't checked out the Everydayers Club, that link's in the show notes, as is the link for the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.